Let's make some magic by using contrast in our artwork. Let's get started by opening up our chalk pastel. Remove the plastic and open up the box. Inside you will find some foam that protects the chalk from breaking and all the beautiful colors of chalk pastels. Artists sometimes find it easiest to work with the chalk if they're broken in half. So feel free, if you want to experiment, to break your chalk in half to see if it's easier for your hands as well. Separate the chalk into warm and cool colors. Let me get started with one color, purple. That's a cool color. I'm going to put it down here. This is kind of purple too. I'm going to put it up by my red and see if I think it looks more red or more purple. I think it looks more red, so I'm going to put it with the warm colors. How about yellow? That goes with the warm colors. How about gray? If you said it doesn't go into either the warm or the cool colors, you're correct. Gray is a trick color. It's actually a neutral, and it doesn't go into either category. How about this color? Warm color it is. And this? Green is a cool color. But what about dark green? That's a cool color still. And this yellow? Yep, it goes with the warm colors. All right, we have our colors separated. Now let's put down some paper to protect our workspace and get out our drawing paper. We need to decide if our artwork is going to be landscape like this, side to side, or portrait, which means up and down. I think for mine, I'm going to do mine horizontal, so landscape. I have already practiced my subject. I know that I'm going to make a sloth, but the challenge when we move to this large format paper is that we have to make it really big, and sometimes that's difficult. So the head itself is bigger than my fist. I want a big arch for the back, and it's kind of hard for me to draw this way, so I'm going to take my piece of paper, flip it upside down, and draw a big arch. Look how big that is. It goes from one side of my paper all the way to the other. Now I'll continue to add all the details onto my sloth using my pencil, drawing light because this is just the base drawing. We'll be adding a lot of chalk pastel to finish this artwork. Now I'm ready for the chalk pastel. I need to decide if my subject is going to be warm colors or cool colors. I think for me, I'm going to use warm colors. I'll start by using the side of my chalk and filling in some of the large areas on my sloth. I'm using a couple of different colors, but when my finger comes into blend, I'm going to do all of one color first. So for an example, I'm using the pink first, wiping my finger off, and then moving into the other color, which is yellow in this case. I've created some chalk dust, so instead of blowing that into the air, I'm just going to take it and tap it into my protector paper, the paper that I have laying down on top of my workspace. Okay, let's continue. I'm going to add just a little bit of red, kind of darkening in these back legs and around the eyes a little bit. Now, for the detail, I'm going to be adding the detail using black. Now, black is a very powerful color. Once it goes down, it's very hard to make it disappear. So I'm going to draw kind of light until I get it right. And when I have everything exactly where I want it, I can take the chalk and make it darker. I will be outlining the whole animal with the black chalk. And when completed with that, I'm going to take my finger and wipe along the edges. So I'm not doing that in the face area, but all around the outside of my subject. I'm going to take my finger and just rub this black to make it kind of blurry. I'm going to give these eyes just a little highlight by adding some white. Now that I have my subject completed, I'm going to take my scissors and cut it out. You'll notice that I'm cutting little bits of paper at a time. That helps me make a smoother cut on my finished product. Now for the background. In order to make our subject really pop, we're going to use cool colors because I used warm colors on my original animal. Now to blend those colors with my finger. Notice I'm doing blue on the edge, and I find that same blue again to blend. Then I can wipe off my finger and move on to a different color. Notice I'm using my paper to kind of protect my page as I am blending. I don't want everything to blend, just the areas I'm working on. Here is our background. I love the way it turned out, and now it's time to add our subject. Do you see how that pops? It really, really does, because we used our warm and cool colors. So we'll take our pencil and we're going to draw around the outside of our subject. Now, I don't want to mess this subject up, so I'm going to put a piece of paper down to kind of protect it and hold it in place. Let's set the subject aside and grab our black chalk pastel again. Go over the pencil lines and then blend that again with your finger, just kind of making a little smudge mark, making it look a little blurry. Now set that aside for a few minutes so that we have space to flip our subject upside down and get our glue stick out. Now we're going to use a lot of glue. We need to get a ton of glue on the back of this subject so that it sticks really tight to the piece of paper, to the background. I have a ton. I'm going to get it right in place, use my piece of paper to protect it as I kind of press down my page so that it stays right in place. We could definitely call this finished, but I'm going to go one step further and add some vines and some foliage. So I'm using my smaller piece of mixed media paper and drawing some leaves and a branch, and I'm using my chalk pastel, thinking about my warm and cool colors. And I know I haven't added a lot of orange in my artwork, so by using orange, I'll be able to have it pop right out. We'll be able to see it really well. I'm using the idea of contrast again. After cutting all the pieces out, I'll go ahead, use my glue to glue everything down. I might have to do some problem solving, and laying it down to get a good composition is always a good idea. So I'm trying to figure out exactly where everything's going to look just right. When I'm finished, I can trim up the edges of my artwork in case there's any pieces that float over the edges, and then I'll be able to have a finished piece of artwork. It was fun to create a piece of artwork that uses contrast. I love the way it pops.